really worked for things that I was feeling. So I picked a couple and wrote some poems about them. And they're weird words or foreign words, and I wasn't thinking when I picked them out about reading these out loud. And I honestly cannot say the title of this first one, and I have tried, and I can't do it. It's a German word, and it starts with an R. And I can tell you what it means, but I'm not going to try and say it. So this first one, the collection of them is called There Should Be Words for It. And this first one, the word means the feeling of returning home after an immersive trip, only to find it fading rapidly from your awareness, to the extent that you have to keep reminding yourself that it happened at all, even though it felt so vivid just days ago. And all of these definitions are really dramatic. Touch went first, the feeling sliding from my fingertips going down the drain with the soapy water until I could no longer remember how her hands felt holding mine. Smell went right along with it, although mostly unpleasant, chickens and compost and strong cheese and beans mixed with eggs. I was still sad to feel them blow away with a loud sneeze. The robins chirping at my apartment window replaced the song of geckos and insects I could not identify. Melodies of 3-minute, 15-second pop songs drown out voices of women half my size with twice my heart and strength. I inhale MSG and the airport Chinese food between my flights, washing down the unique mix of spices I could not identify. Sight is the one we can capture, the one most able to convince us that what we experience really happened, yet the face in the photograph hardly feels like mine, and the sunrises look like all the other sunrises. There is an art to capture. I am still trying to learn. This next one's called depaysement, which has a really weird definition, but it literally means decountrification, or to be without a country, or be a stranger in a land. Depaysement. Like a puppy with feet too big for his body, I stumble into a foreign land. I wonder if I know this place well enough to confess my love for it. Gringo might as well be stamped on my forehead and the rest of me. I don't feel at home in the country I belong to either. When I was young, I would get scared and I would yell, I want to go home, even when I was in my house. I would yell, I want my mom, even if she was the one holding me, like the things we need to comfort us are just not enough sometimes. I don't feel homesick when I'm abroad. Restless, maybe, like I'm trying to capture home in sounds and feelings, but like a child trying to hold bath water in my fists, I'm unsuccessful. This next one is called alcoholism, which is the awareness of the smallness of your perspective by which you couldn't possibly draw any meaningful conclusions at all about the world or the past or the complexities of culture. Alcoholism. Standing on top of a mountain, gazing over fields of sugar cane, I realize I am a child looking through an empty paper towel roll like a telescope, not realizing that it only narrows my view rather than zooming in on anything, making it impossible to see what isn't right in front of me. We aren't likely to change with one eye closed, sitting high in the branches where reality won't bother us. I'm interrupted by a child yelling my name. She holds me around the waist briefly. She removes my blinders, her laughter showing me something beyond my narrowing depth of field. This last one is called exulensis, which is the tendency to give up trying to talk about an experience because people are unable to relate to it, which the whole point of this one is that I haven't given up yet. Exulensis. Their excitement shakes me and makes me wish I had more to say than it was good. That satisfies most. They don't push farther. That tells me they probably couldn't understand how a giggle changed my heart, or how I saw a half-naked child playing with a chicken in his front yard, and I think about it every day. The things I love I cannot capture. My mom shows me childhood memories through pictures taken without a flash, and videos with too few megapixels to show anything but the faint shadow of someone she loved, and I learned that most of what matters we cannot capture. My work will be a blurry photograph, a faint image that people can feel rather than seeing. This next poem is about the girl that I sponsor. So when I first went to Honduras, there was a new child there. She'd only been there for like maybe a month, and she was really shy. We really hit it off, and she made that experience what it was for me. And it's been really incredible over the last 2 years to get to see in one child the impact that Montana de Luz has, and like how much she's grown. Which just a little plug, I have forms up here if anyone is interested in sponsoring a child at Montana de Luz, as well as composites of the children. And I would love to talk to you about that if that's something that you're interested in. This is called madrina, which is Spanish for godmother, and that's what they call their sponsors, either godmother or godfather. Madrina, madrina, she pulls on my arm and shouts to anyone who will listen. In the beginning, she approached like springtime, hesitant, still giving way to April frost. Now she rattles off something in Spanish and throws her head back. Laughter explodes from her because this language is foreign to me. She runs on skinny legs over broken sidewalks and tree trunks. I've got no chance of keeping up, like chasing a tiger in his own forest. We communicate in gestures, the gift of a flower or a secret handshake. I kiss the top of her head with arms around her, a language once foreign to her. The last day the sun shines through the tree canopy and through her deep brown eyes. She repeats the same phrase as if I could understand if only she was loud enough. She doesn't want you to leave, someone tells me. With tears in my eyes, I tell them, not all of me is leaving. So now I'm going to give you an opportunity to ask any questions that you might have about the project or my poetry or MDL or whatever it may be. So if you have any questions, now is the time. Yeah, Nikki?
So a lot of what your poetry and things you were talking about are like the differences between here and there. Are there any like big similarities that you've found that you hadn't expected to find? Like between maybe just the behavior of people here and people there or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the really cool things is that we like think of it as being really different. Like the first time I went there, I was like, I feel like I'm in like a whole different sort of world. But this past time when I went, we got to spend a lot of time hanging out with like the older boys. And we were all like sitting around watching music videos or something like that, and the music video for Despacito came on, and they like changed it. They were like, we hate this song. We were like, come on, that's like the only song we would know. And then we just like get into conversations about like music or food or whatever, and you're talking to them, and you forget that there's even that huge cultural barrier. So like that's the like really awesome thing, is that once you get into the conversations, you realize that there really isn't that big of a gap when you're like talking to them and just hanging out. Any other questions? Cool.
I have
Oh, yeah, Dr.
Sorry.
Stanley.
Well, I wonder, and this may be, I'm not a poet, so this may not be a good question, in which case I'm sure Professor Griffith will quote me. But, you know, you commented that you had sort of trouble getting started with writing, and it's clear that once you got started, you did really lovely work. So I wonder if you could comment a little bit on how you got from one place to the other on your process.
Well, like, a lot of it was, like, once, like I said, I was really hesitant to write, mostly because of that fear of, like, writing about people and misrepresenting them. And so, like, I made myself write that first poem, and I was like, okay, maybe this won't... I really didn't think I would use that first poem.
About the mango?
Yeah.
I love
the
that.
mango poem. I really didn't think that that would
really
end up
descriptive.
in it. I was like, I just have to write something. I just have to get started. And then, first of all, looking back on it, it turns out I feel like that poem is a little bit about people and not just about mangoes. But also, it just turned out to be a lot better than I thought it would be. So... and then once I wrote that first poem, things like, I don't know, somehow just like came a lot more naturally. And like I said, looking at that list of words, like that kind of stuff, just really like thinking about things and like, yeah, just kind of the more I thought about it, the more things came together. And the less afraid I was, I think was also a huge part of it. Was like the more I wrote, the less scared I was of writing. And so it just kind of moved from there.
Which poet did you study that you like felt like you most identified with? I know it's hard, like, because they're different comparisons, but you seem to know a little bit of background, so like, which one did you feel like you most identified with?
Well, Clementina Suarez, like, kind of obviously, because she was a woman, and like, I also read more biographical information about her than the other two, just because that was what I had access to. So I knew more about her life, and there was a lot, like, when I was reading her, like, biographical information, that I was like, this is speaking to me, like, I really, like, connected with it a lot. But as far as, like, what poet I liked the most, I liked Oscar Gonzalez's poetry the most, just because they all had very, very distinct styles, which is something that I thought was interesting, and I was, like, sort of looking at, like, how their being from Honduras affects their poetry and whatnot. And they're all from the same country, but they all write very differently, and all have different sort of influences based on their education and whatnot. So, but his was like very lyrical and had a lot of imagery in it, and so that was my favorite poet to read. But yeah. Any other questions? So next I'm going to read some stuff that the kids at Montana de Luz actually wrote. So thank you to Kathy for helping me get writing from some of the kids, because I feel like I could stand up here and talk for days about what it's like at Montana de Luz, but I think it's a lot more meaningful if you can hear the voices of the children. So this first bit that I'm going to read is where they were asked to write a story about their life in 6 words, which won't sound like 6 words to you because it's translated, but you get the point. I want to walk to get to where I need to be. Soccer, the passion of my life. Any music fills the empty soul. The school discriminates against the people. Much is communicated without a word. Love survives every night with my friends. Continue my life, but I'm afraid. I want to enjoy life, love. Ships were not made for harbors. Bless each sickness, its painful life. I want to share with others. My happiness depends on God always. My family is important to me. These next ones are where they were asked to write 5 things they want people to know about their life at MDL. That there is love, joy, good communication, fellowship, and friendship. Solidarity, respect, love, honesty, friendship. Education, responsibility, affection, good behavior, and friendship. I have one last poem, but I want to thank you guys all for coming out tonight. I hope that you learned something and that you gained something from being here tonight. I really enjoyed doing this project. This is something that I feel really passionately about, and I'm so grateful to have this opportunity, and this opportunity to share it with others, because I think that's what's really important. I think maybe the number one lesson that I learned is the importance of community, and sharing among others, both like literally sharing things and also sharing knowledge and information, and how we really grow as people when we interact with others. This last poem is one that I wrote mostly while I was still there, and getting ready to come home, and I think it's sort of at the core of what this project means to me. Called. We are called to serve humbly, something I didn't fully understand until I was standing next to a compost heap shoveling chicken waste into a wheelbarrow. But I look up and see where the mountain drops off and 20 shades of blue paint the ridge. I see a storm coming across the valley below. It rains a lot this time of year, but the kids never stop dancing. They dance, sometimes to music heard by others. I came at exactly the right time, like a person pulled from a burning building just before they lose hope and get lost in the flames of absurdity. I'm rescued by the voices of children who remind me that being small doesn't mean you can't build. So when I leave, I will tell stories and I will build a place that I am proud to call home. Thank you.